Welcome to a very exciting, a special mini podcast episode of our Existential Hope podcast series. Today, I'm delighted to have Beatrice Ackers again in the interviewee chair. And you just launched a fantastic course on Existential Hope Worldbuilding. This is now like a second iteration of a project that we started together with the FLI last year. I'm really excited and dying to hear more about it because I actually haven't heard how the launch event went. And please tell us a bit, what is this course about?
Yeah, very excited to share. Basically, it's an AI Futures Worldbuilding course, or like Existential Hope AI Futures Worldbuilding course, if you want to get all the words in there. But basically, it's a course on Udemy that's free and open to everyone. It's only about 1.5 hours if you only watch the lectures, and then if you want to watch the guest lectures, you can spend a lot more time in there. But yeah, so basically the whole point of the course is that we're really currently lacking visions of positive futures with AI. And so that's what this course aims to help bridge the gap between where we are right now. We know that things are going to happen. Things have already started to happen in terms of AI development. And what do we want to do? Where do we want to steer this future? What futures with AI do we want? And so it's meant to help think about what are the positive applications of AI? What could be really exciting things that we could do, and not just get stuck in the risks and the challenges, which are obviously really important to also think about. And it's not that we completely gloss it over or ignore it. Those are there for challenges that we need to consider and navigate. But yeah, the point of the course is really to help bridge the gap between just what could be great futures with AI.
Awesome. And we've had the Existential Hope platform for a while. We've had a podcast, this series, for a while. We have a resource guide on the Existential Hope website for a while for people digging into positive futures. But what makes this course specifically different now? Why a world building course? Why is that important?
Well, I guess we got the world building concept from working with FLI, because they did this world building competition a few years ago that was also about imagining positive but grounded visions of futures with AGI. And so basically we chose this world building perspective, or this world building angle of the course, because I think that AI futures are just really hard to predict. It's always impossible to predict the future to some extent, but it's really hard when it comes to a massive new multi-purpose technology that will be integrated in basically everything in our society. And so forecasting isn't really enough. Scenario planning, I think, is a great tool, but it's a bit more narrow than world building. You'd focus on more a specific domain maybe. But world building, the whole point of it is that by building out a more holistic world and this more holistic vision of what a future with AI could look like, you can see how things are interacting with each other. And if something happens over here in our economy, how does that affect something over here in just how you live your everyday life? And so that's why we chose this world building tool, and why we think that's the best thing that we could do right now in terms of crowdsourcing visions of what the future with AI could look like. I think that's another sort of point about this course. I think most of our programs in the past have been aimed at and are aimed at more people that are maybe already red-pilled on AI to some extent. And this course, I think, is more to people that maybe aren't invested in it yet. And so it's more of an introductory course as well, I would say. And also to that extent, I think it's more of an introductory course to a little bit of everything that Foresight does, because it also actually does contain, it's not just about AI in the sense that we also have little intros on all the different technologies that Foresight is working on, for example, because the point of it is this thing of AI isn't just advancing AI. AI can advance other technologies as well, like bio and nano and neuro and so on. And so yeah, it's all over basically and integrated in everything.
Yeah, I really love that component. I think what makes Foresight special is that we really play at this intersection of different technologies, like the fact that nanotechnology can both influence AI and will be influenced by AI, etc. And I think that there's very few other venues and platforms that are pointing to the complicated, complex, but ultimately pretty world-changing interrelationships of different technologies. So I really enjoyed that part about the course. There's also a ton of just like different scenarios, different red teaming exercises. You have a bunch of guest lecturers that you invited. I really loved those when I saw them. I had no clue until I actually mock took the course. Do you want to share more about who we can expect as guest lecturers there?
Yeah. Yeah, we have quite a few really interesting voices, I think, contributing. So those are, I think, interesting, even if you already are red-pilled, because those are like experts. We have Anousheh Ansari, who's the CEO of XPRIZE. She was the first private female astronaut. I think her perspective on space and space tech is just really interesting. Also, it's always interesting to hear about XPRIZE and what they're doing. Helen Toner, I think her perspective on governance and AI governance was really interesting. There was a lot of things that were new to me actually there, just in terms of how the landscape has shifted so much in the last few years. And so things that maybe we were considering a few years ago in terms of how to govern AI don't really feel like realistic options right now. So that was really interesting. We have Hannah Ritchie, who I'm like a bit of a fangirl of. She works at Our World in Data and wrote Not the End of the World, which is just a really great book about like how things really aren't as bad as we think they are with climate. And it's not that we should stop working on making that better, but that we actually have a lot of really great tools and technologies to help with that now. And then we have Ada Palmer, who was on our podcast recently, and she was like a really loved guest. And it was also really interesting actually to talk more to her about world building and just like in practice, how do you actually, she had really good, like very practical recommendations for how you could do really interesting world building. And yeah, then there's like Glenn Whale from Radical Exchange. There's Anthony Aguirre from FLI. Christine, our co-founder at Foresight. Yeah, and a few more like Robert Lempert, who works at RAND and has done so much like interesting scenario planning for robust decision-making and these sort of things. And then I think my personal favorite lecture actually was Anton Korinek, who's an economist. And that's just because like we could debate, I think, how AI is going to affect things, but it's really undeniable that it's going to affect the economy. And that was just really interesting. He's really good at explaining these things and that it's already happening, basically. So I recommend that one.
Awesome. Yeah, we were also really excited to see the Anthony Aguirre lecture, especially because FLI has also shifted its thinking and evolved its thinking so much around AI in the past few years. And there's so much alignment in terms of like how AI can actually help beneficial human coordination and cooperation. So it's a really exciting mix of lectures of all different technologies, all different fields, how it shapes the economy, etc. So there's really like something for everyone in there, I would say.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe I'll repeat this.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks. Great. Yeah, I was also really excited to see Anthony Aguirre there from Futures Institute, who of course have made this course possible with us together. Anthony has thought so deeply, especially recently, has published a lot about like different approaches to AI. And I think we really align so well on how AI can also help human sense making and human coordination and human cooperation go much better. So there's a ton of like just positive application spaces in which AI can already help civilization progress much faster. That was really exciting to see. Cool. Last but not least, if people are excited, how can they join and what do you hope they will take away?
Yeah, I think that I really hope that like my main point, I think, is that I hope that they don't just take like knowledge or like the lessons learned in that sense, but also that they take agency, that they feel agency of shaping the future that they want to see. So that's the main takeaway. Like obviously learn about the things and feel engaged, but also just feel like you have agency in shaping this future. And yeah, I really, my sort of call to action to people from this little minisode would be that please, if you think this sounds interesting, then take the course. You can find it on Udemy, Building Hopeful Futures with AI. You can find it on existentialhope.com and share it with others, I think would be also really nice. If you think there's someone who maybe feels very existential doom and they need to think or consider that positive futures are possible, it could be a good one to share it with. Or if they're just like curious about all the what's going on with AI, basically. And yeah, last but not least, just you can also submit your vision of a positive future with AI in 2035. And so that's also, I think, something that I would highly encourage people to do. You can do it on existentialhope.com. And you can also explore what other people have submitted so far. And so that's it.
Awesome. I look forward to some of the submissions that we'll get. Maybe we can publish some on the Existential Hope platform too. That'd be fun. Thanks, Beatrice. Thanks a lot for all the effort that you put into it. I'm really stoked this exists now for everyone out there in the world. Because especially right now, who doesn't need a little bit of a dose of hope?